Hello everyone. Today we have Professor Sudarshan with us, who is renowned in the world for his contribution to database systems, and he has also served as a Deputy Director of IIT Bombay. So now I'll start with the interview. Research labs like CFILT contribute significantly to IIT Bombay's research ecosystem. From your perspective, what makes this lab stand out from others in today's fast-changing technological landscape?
It's an interesting question. You're asking how does CFILT stand out in today's fast-changing world. In fact, what I would like to say is that the world changes both slower than you think and faster than you think. CFILT was set up, if I remember right, back in the 1990s. It's almost 30 years now, close to 30 years since it was set up. And the problem of Indian languages, the translation, the understanding, speech recognition, speech generation, all of these have been issues which have been under active research all these years. And I remember Professor Pushpak, when this lab CFILT was set up, and even before it was set up, he was working on something called the Universal Networking Language, or UNL, with support from UN, which has the United Nations, nothing to do with universal networking, although it sounded like it was the same thing. And that was more of a grammar and logic-based approach to language translation. And among the major tasks which came out of that were the WordNet. And then there's the grammatical structure, there were transformation rules to generate Indian language text from the UNL, and also things to convert from English or Indian languages to UNL. So that was a very interesting effort, which I remember. But of course, technology moved ahead. UNL, I think, went by the wayside, and instead statistical machine learning came in, and that has become the basis for all language technologies. And Professor Pushpak's group obviously evolved very quickly with the times and has made major contributions. WordNet, of course, continues to be used and is an important contribution, but there have been many more in the statistical translation.
So my next question is, what advice would you like to give to research labs like CFILT for sustaining its innovation and impact?
It serves a very important need in a country like India, where we have 22 official languages, I think, and hundreds of dialects. And having documents in just one language or two languages is not enough. We need the ability to translate naturally, correctly into many languages. So over the years, the level of accuracy has been steadily improving. And I think we are now getting to the point where most of the work is done by machines, and human just cross-checks that it didn't make mistakes. So there are a number of such public information sites which used to be in just English or English plus Hindi, which are now moving towards all Indian languages, more or less. So this is enabled in part, at least, by CFILT, which has contributed not only WordNet, but has also created a very large number of people who work in this, masters and PhD students, and even some bachelor students who work in this area and have gone out and worked in industry and helped to create the tools which are now very widely used.
Thank you for this answer, sir. So, coming to my next question, what role do you see for NLP research in shaping the future of AI and technology?
So, natural language processing has been the primary driver of the recent generation of generative AI. It was created, generative AI was basically created from the availability of huge amounts of text and the ability to predict the next word or the next set of words based on the previous, or in some cases the future set of words also, and the context. So today's AI has been created in some sense by using natural language. Not the spoken version, but the textual version. Now, of course, you have multimodal AI, you have audio, you have video, audio, both the recognition part and the generation part. And clearly, this new generation of AI is increasingly being driven by these two modalities, the speech and the video. So natural language processing will continue to be important in this area. Of course, there is this joke which may or may not be true, but the joke is that every time some company X, let's not name the company, it said that every time they fired a linguist, the accuracy of the models went up. Okay, that was a joke. But the point was that instead of the old way of modeling, which linguists worked on, the statistical part has come to dominate. Now, that doesn't mean that the linguistic models are not important. I think they are important. They will continue to have a role, even if temporarily they've been eclipsed by the more statistical or the deep learning approach. So I think natural language processing will be an important part of what is driving AI and ML going into the future.
Okay, so my next question is, what advice would you like to give to research labs like CFILT for sustaining its innovation and impact?
So in terms of the lab sustaining itself and having a greater impact, one of the things we have come to realize in the recent years of AI is that scale matters. Academic level research is important. It enabled the new generation of AI, but then to actually make use of these things and create systems which deliver value requires very large scale. And this has resulted in many of the universities across the world, even the richest universities like Stanford or MIT, realizing there are some things they just cannot afford and only industry can afford it. And that also plays out in India. We hope that the next generation of AI techniques will actually reduce the cost, where again it will be possible for smaller groups to have that direct impact in terms of creating systems that are the best in the world. But assuming that is not going to happen in the short-term future, I think what is important for these labs is twofold. One is they create the manpower which can drive the future of India, which is one important goal of any academic institution. The second is that they should also help people to have a more entrepreneurial mindset and basically to go out and build these companies which can build these models and can take AI forward into the future. So I think the biggest change which we need to see in research labs is the ability to train people to go out and build systems and to create companies, or in some cases work for other companies. But the goal should be to build things which can have an impact. And I look at it in two ways. One is you build foundational models, which are the most expensive things around. But then there's also a whole lot of applications. And from the Indian perspective, I think the big value of the money which will come in will be in the applications that can be built using these tools. So I think it's also important that research labs train people and also work on practical problems which can lead to building applications which will have an impact and also generate revenue and help the nation basically go forward. So I think compared to the previous way of doing things, I think this is what would be true for all research labs. But I think CFILT has had already a good success in this. They have always been building tools which go out and get used, like the Indian language, several components of the Indian language, WordNet. And they've also generated people who have gone out and built companies or gone to other institutions like IIT Madras and built companies there. So I think it has definitely already been playing this role. So it's not like it's a new thing for it to do, but it needs to continue doing this.
Thank you for this answer, sir. So my final question is, looking ahead 5 to 10 years down the line, what is your vision for the future of AI research at IIT Bombay?
Yeah, 5 to 10 years is an eternity. They say prediction is hard, and predicting the future is even harder. And I think every one of us who has made predictions about AI in the last 2 decades, barring a small number of people, has been proven completely wrong. There were all these talks of AI complete, which is like NP complete, meaning that it cannot be solved. And it turned out that both the sides were wrong. AI showed that it can deliver, and a bunch of people in the community that bridges theory and practice build tools which can actually solve problems which on paper are NP complete, and in fact there are probably some very hard instances, but in most cases it turns out they're able to solve it quite efficiently. So the two tenets of what is hard in the last 2 decades or so back has now turned on its head. So predicting 10 years into the future is extremely hard. But what we can say is for sure is that AI has made a lot of strides. In any technology which has sudden bursts like this, there are a lot of things you can do with it, and those add a lot of value to the world at large. There is a fear that jobs will be lost, and yes, certain jobs will be lost. In fact, again, the usual joke is that the first set of jobs which were lost are of AI researchers who are using other ways of doing AI than the current deep learning. And then the next bunch will be AI researchers using deep learning because AI might be able to do what they're doing better. Perhaps, we don't know. But this is a real problem which obviously can have huge social impact. At the same time, it is also cannot be avoided. If you don't do it, somebody else will. So you might as well do it and do it right and help the world rather than destroy the world in the process. So I think building the applications which can help humans and lead better, more productive lives is something which I think will continue to be important. If you go back to the previous generation of research, like the web and so on, and in fact computer science in general, there's always a fear that computer science will wipe out white collar work. And in fact it wiped out one chunk of white collar work, but it created many times that amount of other work, which is very satisfying, well-paid work. So one hopes that AI will also go in the same trajectory. So with that in mind, AI research, again, I think the application side, using AI to do stuff, I think that is going to be very important. We've already seen the impact of AI in the Nobel Prizes this year. So every branch of human knowledge has already been impacted by AI. And I think it's just the beginning. We will see a lot more of this, where AI will have a positive impact on all kinds of scientific endeavors, in addition to the creative endeavors, the artists, the designers, the creators. It's going to have an impact there. And of course, the more traditional white-collar salaried employees' jobs will obviously also get, including programmers and as also AI researchers, as I said. It's going to impact everything. So I think there's a lot of research to be done in how to build useful systems using the current knowledge. That is where the bulk of the people will be working. But at the same time, it's very important that we have a core group of people who are looking ahead, who are looking at how to build the next generation of technology and not worry as much about the usage of the current generation of technology. So I see both of these will happen in IIT Bombay and will happen all over the world. But IIT Bombay is particularly well placed because we have a large number of researchers who are working in the core technologies in the computer science department. Plus we have across the whole institute and including in C-Minds and so on, we have people who are working on applications of AI for all kinds of domains. So I think there's a lot of fruitful work to be done here, and I see a very bright future for AI research in IIT across the whole board.